I'm ready. I won't let you down. You're not going. You're no ranger, John. But I'm better than everyone. You're better than no one. Here, a man gets what he earns, when he earns it.
John at the beginning of 3 is, probably takes John a while to get to the realization that he's lucky compared to most people. At the beginning of the episode, all that he can really see is that he's much, much better at almost everything than this collection of losers he's been surrounded with, and he doesn't understand why that doesn't entitle him to more privileges than they have.
They hate me because I'm better than they are.
It's a lucky thing none of them were trained by master-at-arms like your Sir Roderick. I don't imagine any of them have ever held a real sword before they came here.
It's with Tyrion's help that he comes to understand that he is better than these people because he's in fact been very, very lucky in the grand scheme of things.
I think one of the important lessons that Jon Snow is forced to reckon with is that he's grown up his whole life with this chip on his shoulder. He's grown up believing that he's someone who's been treated unfairly. And then one day he joins a group of people who have lived monstrously more difficult lives than he ever has. So Jon didn't have the easiest life because he was, a bastard growing up with his family, but at the same time, he's a rich kid. I mean, he grew up in a castle. So Jon's forced to realize that as hard as he thought his life was, there are many, many people out there who have had it much worse than he has.
Take care, Snow.
Farewell, my lord.
He has to learn that the hard way, but he learns that lesson, and he probably ends up a much better person for it.
One of Dany's characteristics that comes to be incredibly important as the story progresses is her hatred of slavery. And I think part of the reason she has great sympathy for slaves is that she's grown up in a situation where she's had no power. She's basically been forced to follow the whims of her brother her entire life.
I am Lord of the Seven Kingdoms. I don't take orders from savages or their sluts.
Dany has a great deal of sympathy for those who are in difficult circumstances, for those who are the weak and the oppressed, and it comes to be really one of the most compelling things about her as a character.
I mean, she's been property for all intents and purposes. She's been her brother's slave, and so I think she has an affinity for these people, and she can actually look at these people and start to think about what their lives are like, maybe feel the empathy with them that is natural to somebody who's sort of a slave herself. And I think that she really kind of starts to realize that being somebody else's property is no good, and starts to show the beginnings of the impulse towards freedom that end up playing a much bigger role in her life and in the lives of the people around her as her story progresses.
Enough of that, young lady. Eat your food.
I'm practicing.
Practicing for what?
The prince.
Arya's grown up in a world where the roles that are set aside for girls are very limited and definitely do not involve wielding swords.
What's happening here?
Arya would rather act like a beast than a lady.
The sword is kind of an embodiment of everything that matters to her that she's not allowed to engage with, and when her father finds her with the sword and then says it's okay for her to keep the sword, it's really, it's a huge moment for her.
If you're going to own a sword, you better know how to use it.
She's really being told in a way like, I'm the person who is the master of your fate, and I am going to let you become the person you were meant to be, or at least far more of that person than you ever thought was ever going to be a real possibility for you.